All right, so today we're learning section 9.2, percents and proportions. You guys ready? All right, so here's our formula. A over B equals P over 100. A over B equals P over 100. There's another way that some people prefer to write this formula, because there are key words that we look for in the percent questions. And here's our key words. Is over of equals P over 100. On your homework tonight, you can write either one of these formulas. Okay? Some people prefer the A over B because that's the variable we use to solve. Some people prefer is over of because those are the key words that we look for in the statement. Okay? So, what you do have to know, though, is that is my key word for which variable? Which one is it comparable to? Yes. Is my key word for A, and of is my key word for B. So when you're filling in these parts of your notes, I just want you to fill in your key words. Is your key word for A, and of is your key word for B. These are the key words that I'm looking for in these statements to know where to plug in the numbers into our formula. So here's how it's going to look in these examples. Now we're going to solve for different parts of the formula in each example. But here's our first two questions. What percent of 3 is 1? So the first thing I look for is, what is it asking me to solve for? What percent? Did it give me a percentage? No. That's what I'm solving for. So now I look at the second part of the statement. Of 3 is 1. So I use my formula. Is over of equals P over 100. I like this formula because it helps me clearly connect the value that's supposed to be plugged in and where it plugs into the formula. So if I have of 3, where do I plug that in? For which variable? For which side? For my of. For my B. Okay? And then my is 1 plugs into the numerator. So 1 over 3 equals P over 100. And there I have a proportion set up. Well, last chapter we learned how to solve proportions 3 ways, right? So today we're only going to use one of those ways. We're going to use cross products on all of these. So I get 100 equals 3P. And what do I do to both sides to solve for P? Divide by 3. Now this one's a repeating decimal. That's okay. I just leave it a repeating decimal and I box it in. All right, so the substitutions are most of the battle, right? Just figuring out where to plug in those values into the formula. I want you to look at the second one now and try to make your substitutions. What percent of 30 is 18? Remember, use your formula. Is over of equals P over 100. So what value goes in for is?
18.
Do you agree? Of 30 is 18, so plug in 18 for is and what for of? What for B? 30. Okay? Equals P over 100. Did you do your cross products?
Mm-hmm.
Have you solved? 1800 equals 30P. P is 60%. Anybody get 60% before I did? Good. About half of you. Any questions? Anything? All right, so good news. Example 2 looks a whole lot like example 1, except now I'm solving for a different part of the formula. Now it says, what is 32% of 200? So I look for those keywords. I'm even emphasizing the words as I read it to you, right? Okay, so now, guys, this should be like, bells going off, all right? If I see a percentage in the problem, what variable does that plug in for? P. 100%. There's no keywords. I see a percentage. I plug it in for P. Okay? That's almost a no-brainer. But now I've got to figure out, okay, this other value, my 200, does that plug in for is or does it plug in for of? Does it plug in for A or B? Plugs in for my B value. So since I'm solving for my is value, what is the variable that I use for is? What's the variable? I put it up here. I use the variable a. So now it's going to be a over 200 equals 32 over 100. Use my cross products, and then I solve. So if I'm solving for is, I use the variable a. Okay? Is and a go back and forth. Okay? All right, so 100a equals 6400. Divide both sides. Did you get 64?
Yep.
All right, very good. Okay, now set up the second one. What is 14% of 50? So plug in the numbers where they go. Use your keywords, and then do your cross products and solve. All right, so plug them in. What variable do I use for is? A over 50 equals 14 over 100. Cross products, divide, and solve. A equals 7. Remember, no percent sign because we're solving for A. All right, guys. Give you one guess. What's going to be in example 3? We're solving for B. We've solved for P. We've solved for A. Now what does it look like to solve for B? 42 is 30% of what number? So again, this jumps out at me. Of what number? I don't know my of. I don't know my B. So again, P, okay, this should be like, what did I say? Bells going off, right? Like, that's obvious. That goes in for P. That should be like a no-brainer. So then, the only thing that's left, and this is clearly my is value, is 42. Go ahead and make your substitutions. Try to solve. All right, so I started with my is over of equals P over 100. We've established that 42 is our is value. Over B, we don't know. Remember, B is the variable we use for our of value. B is the variable we use. Equals 30 over 100. 30B equals 4,200. B is 140. Anybody get that? B is 140. Okay, go ahead and solve the second one. 70 is 35% of what number? All right, got the answers? Answers? Got it? Got it right? Loza? Did you get it right? What'd you get? What'd you get? Tell me. Yeah. 200. Did you get? Well, they agree. So either you got it right and they got it right, or y'all got it wrong, right? We'll see. All right. So 70 over B equals 35 over 100. Look at that. You got it right. Good job. 200. Who got it right? Raise your hands. Good job, guys. Now in example 4. In example 4, I'm looking at a word problem. All right, and I've got to figure out, it's the same formula. Is over of equals P over 100. I have to figure out now what values go in for which variable. Okay, it's not going to be as obvious as my statements. It says the company is accepting applications for new hires. They can only hire 60 out of the 300 applicants. What percent of the applicants can the company hire? So I start off with my formula. Is over of equals P over 100. Now I have to figure out where the numbers substitute in. So I want to give you a chance to try to plug them in. Which value is my A, or my part, and which value is my B, my of, my total? What do you think? What's your is value? 60, right? Because that's the part. That's not the total number of people. That's only the small number of people that can be hired. So 60 is my is. What's my of? 300. I don't know my percentage over 100. All right, go ahead and do your cross products now and solve. Okay, so 300p equals 6,000. Divide both sides by 300. P equals 20% of what? Huh? Of what? Applicants. 20% of the applicants will get hired. That's not awesome odds, right? You better put on a pretty awesome interview, right? Only 1 in 5 people get hired. So you have 2 problems like this on your homework tonight where you kind of have to figure out which value goes, where. It's not as obvious as our statements. And you should be good to go for your homework assignment. That's everything you need to know for 9.2.